more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. Hey, Drip.
Are you looking for some fun and entertainment this Father's Day weekend? Can't figure out what gift to give the men in your life? No worries. Our entertainment presents Dance with My Father. Terry Steele, a tribute to Luther Vandross. Elaine Gibbs, a tribute to Aretha Franklin. Visit Eventbrite now. Dance with My Father. June 17th. General admission is $60. VIP, $75. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Showtime is at 7:30 p.m. Taking place at the beautiful Fine Arts Theater in Beverly Hills, 8556 Wilshire Boulevard. For ticket information, visit Eventbrite or call Isidore at 323-351-7662. 323-351-7662. Bring the family out and let's celebrate. 323-351-7662.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, you know. Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and they're putting their money where their mouth is at. So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community, and you got to respect that. It makes me want to bank with Chase, and give them another look. If I go to another institution, I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right, Chase is doing their part to help advance Black wealth. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
You belong here. I'm glad you are here. And around here, we are celebrating Black Music Month, celebrating with knowledge and understanding. And we're being joined by a vocalist, pianist, recording artist, composer, and educator. He's been performing for 2 decades. He's done TED Talk. He's an ASCAP member. And he has toured the country as a jazz vocalist. In addition to his busy performance schedule, he's a professor, an adjunct professor at the University of the Arts, and a preschool music teacher. Shayne Frederick, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, my dear sister?
I'm blessed. How are you doing?
I can't complain too bad.
How's the music?
Oh, the music is music, and and I'm grateful for that. Of course, I have a thing tonight. It's pretty much I work almost every day.
Really?
So, yeah. And some of it is incidental. We'll call it incidental music, where I'm at a venue where there is music in the space to kind of place make, and other times it's a concert. So, music hits on different levels, of course. That's
amazing, though, because I know some folks feel like you can either be teaching or performing, and there's a few of you guys that are able to do both consistently and have the energy and the creative juice to do both on that scale of every single day, day in, day out.
Yeah, it takes a lot to proverbially make a meal. It's the side. Sometimes it's the side dish, and then sometimes it's the entree. You know what I mean? So I take a little bit of this, little education stuff, little performance stuff. If I'm doing a film score thing or a commercial thing, all these little pieces are part of the, music career.
Last time you were on and feel free to veer in a different direction because I feel like I'm being a little bossy, but I want you to share. I tend to do that when I'm on the radio, but I want you to share what you want to share. But last time you were on, we were talking about who are the great vocalists in jazz and who's considered jazz and who's pop and where they all fit in the pantheon. And it got me thinking, we often hear this idea that, jazz is part of an evolution of music, an evolution specifically of Black music. People trace back to, spirituals and blues and rock and roll. So I thought maybe you could give us a little bit, kind of a short version of that, how that evolution takes place in your view, to land us at jazz.
Right. And that's a great question, because I don't think there is one answer. There's a series of phenomena that occurred over centuries to get us to this specific moment, of course. By the way, I just returned from New Orleans. I was on vacation, just hanging.
Woohoo!
I was not making any music. And, we're talking about Congo Square, right? So places where people gathered. Some of them had instruments, melodic instruments. Some of them had drums. Everyone had their hands, their feet, their voices. And people, we tend to gather. That's what we do. We're communal. We're communal people. And we bring our pieces together and create new sounds. I think, and a lot of people would look at New Orleans as one of the seats of jazz, or the origins of jazz. So it's fitting that people such as Louis Armstrong and even Mahalia Jackson, who we look at as part of the pantheon of black music, period, much less, any genre, kind of salute and represent that county seat, that actual cultural seat of music. But
before you continue the line, I got to say, LA City Council member Heather Hutt will be on today, and New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell will be on tomorrow, and they are creating the New Orleans corridor here in Los Angeles to celebrate the connection between New Orleans and Los Angeles in the Great Migration, and we will have a second line going down Jefferson Boulevard on Saturday. Woo! So we're the New Orleans is New Orleansing over here. So it's timely that you would, remind us about Congo Square being considered one of the birthplaces of jazz.
Wow, that is amazing timing. And when you speak to the mayor, please tell her thank you. And I go at least once a year. Really, is a part of my recharge. If I can get down there, just to hang out, be in the atmosphere. I mean, if you look at the history of what we now call New Orleans and colonization and the layers of who was there when people came. We're talking about the Spaniards and the French, and then the British tried to do it and they couldn't quite get a hold of it. And then when the Haitians began to come from Saint Domingue, and then we talk about the Haitian Revolution and how that trickled over, and then how each of these elements, and then of course the Africans who were not from Haiti but freed Africans and enslaved Africans, and New Orleans being a port city, all of these elements brought a different piece to the music, and it's still there because it's like the Delta is like a geological or like a depression in the physical state. And so everything that goes in there just lingers in New Orleans. It's so thick and heavy. You just feel all of it when you walk through the streets.
I've never been there, but I'm looking forward to it. I've always wanted to go.
What? Yeah.
Never set foot.
We are officially post-Katrina. Katrina was a thing, of course.
Well, that sounds like a blessing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people who had lived there or visited and had ties to the place, and then Katrina happened, and they kind of didn't want to return, and then, there's a sadness. But I really feel like the city, and I've been going for the last maybe decade, annually, even probably more than that, but I feel like it's definitely rejuvenated. There's a spirit, and the spirit is also in the music, that spirit that has returned, that lingers, that indefatigable. You can't beat this spirit. It's still there.
Mm. So you started us off in Congo Square, and where? How do you see? I know this is not a linear, super, like you said, one answer kind of conversation, but
right.
Take us on one path, one journey.
Sure. I think about that river, the Mississippi River, and how it brought people throughout the centuries from everywhere down from the Mississippi, from the the New Orleans, the Delta, all the way up to ultimately like Chicago and Detroit. And I look at how that has created things as the St. Louis blues, and then how blues/jazz moved up through the Midwest the same way that Philly and New York were products of the Great Migration from from North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia. And if you look at where the people go, the music goes where the people go. And the music is the evidence of the culture of those people. And so the reason why it's not linear, because the development of this country wasn't linear. And time-wise, you look at the influence of Tin Pan Alley, as they called it, early Broadway, all of these other types of music that got absorbed into what we consider the origins of the jazz repertoire. So there was a sound, a people, and then there was the music that they were making and how they kind of took pieces of music, absorbed it, explored it, flipped it on its edge, and created this jazz songbook and this jazz interpretive spirit, the spirit that Billie Holiday had, where she took a song, she said, I'm a jazz singer who sings with the blues. And so she would take your song, Mr. Irving Berlin or Cole Porter or whomever, and put it on its ear in the very black blues style interpretation. And that's how this music was built.
Yeah, I love that. The music is the evidence of the culture of the people. It's not something that exists in a vacuum.
Right. Absolutely. And you can't take it away, and people want to take it away from the people and then give it a new story, revisioning, right? You can't really do that. You got to get the context, and we talk about context all the time. You got to understand the people, get the culture, context, and see how those stories travel with those people. And that's how we get who I am, who we are. That's how we remember.
Yeah, but we still have cultural appropriation, right? I mean, people actually do take it away from the context. Well, I want to get your thoughts on that when we come forward. Talking with Shayne Frederick. It's time for your music history lessons. It is June, after all, on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Here are 3 ways to commemorate Juneteenth from AARP. 1. Learn the full history. Juneteenth was the end of slavery, but there's more. Begin by learning the whole story. 2. Celebrate. Celebrating our freedom should be a party with a purpose, with family, friends, fellowship, and oh yeah, food. 3. Support black-owned business. In 1865, we had little to nothing, but as a people, we've been richly blessed. Express your gratitude by supporting our black-owned businesses.
What would you call a joy that is as solemn as it is sweet and knows no bounds? A joy that's beautifully rooted in soul and resilience. This is Black Joy, a joy that reflects pride and honor despite every challenge. AARP believes the power of Black joy is limitless, and we celebrate this joy supreme. Join us in celebrating Black joy at aarp.org/blackcommunity.
Are you a small or micro business owner looking for ways to succeed after the pandemic? LA County has got you covered. Gain access to economic opportunity grants and technical assistance to help your business thrive. Whether you need mentorship or capital investment programs, they're here to help. Find out if you qualify at recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. That's recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. LA County and you, moving forward together.
It's our anniversary.
Every weekday during the month of June, we're giving away gear from the KBLA.store to say thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate our 2nd anniversary. Each weekday, a different host will be giving away fresh merch to one lucky caller. All you have to do is keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580 throughout the day, and our host will tell you when to dial in and when. It's our way of showing appreciation to you for helping make KBLA Talk 1580 the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of information for listeners just like you. Here's hoping you'll be one of our lucky winners. But you can always head over to the KBLA.store anytime for the best in KBLA Talk 1580 gear for yourself and great gift ideas. Now, celebrating 2 years of being your go-to, we're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black. Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Jazz singer, pianist, composer, and also the touring voice of Frederick Douglass is joining me this morning, Shayne Frederick. You said, that the music is evidence of the culture of the people. We don't take it out of context. How does cultural appropriation fit into that? I mean,
right. I mean, and that's a valid question, and I think about historians are now saying that the first jazz recording was made by a bunch of white guys because who got the money? But, and this was way back, I can't even think of the year off the top of my head. It was early 1900s or something. But they always had to go back to the source to get more. And that's the other thing. So while a cultural appropriation occurs, they still have to go back to the living culture to see what they're talking about next, because they have to have something else to do after that. And it's happening. It happens even today because music lives, it breathes, it has its own mouth, you know.
Yeah.
And so they look at the people who create the music and they go back to say, oh, what they doing now? These Negroes, what they doing now? You know what I mean? That's how it goes. And then they got to find a person. They got to find a plant. I'm not going to get all crazy, but they got to find a plant. They got to, you know, put their person up to try to represent what they see happening organically in the actual community of people who are creating the music for the people who want to hear that music. Because, again, music is not me making sounds at you. Music is the community in which, you know, I make a sound, you respond to it with your body. Dance music is dance, you know. It's social music. People dance to music throughout the history of even jazz. It is and was dance music. And so they got to figure out what the people are responding to, because they can't make you respond to something you don't want to respond to. So they got to go back to the people who create it to figure out, imitate, duplicate, replicate, and then try to put that out there while we are still moving forward and pushing the music forward.
Yeah, I just looked that up. It was 1917, and they sure are a bunch of white guys saying it's the first recording of jazz. And, you know,
and that might be true.
Right.
Because they had the money to do the recording, and the record labels, even then the record labels have always been the gatekeepers. They want to be the tastemakers, which is so interesting, because how can you dictate the taste when you're not from the people who are doing the tasting? But that's always been the gate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is that I'm looking at the Smithsonian. That's what they're saying. But yeah, it's a great point. Who got into the recording studio first is all that proves. It doesn't prove anything about who invented what. But you are taking us, you know, where the people go, so goes the music. And when we talk about the ancestors of a format, you know, you mentioned various kinds of blues. You mentioned spirituals. What is the direct ancestor of jazz?
I think it is. Well, I mean, I think it takes at least two ancestors to create a being, right?
And by the way, I like it when you get all crazy, so you don't have to, you know, stop.
Right.
Don't not get crazy on my behalf.
Well, you know, I heard that about you.
I'm going to leave that there.
I know that's right. I mean, I think about, so even if we just look at history, we look at the songs that our African ancestors brought from various places too, because it wasn't just a person, a people. It was a series of people who were not one people until they got here, and we had to decide, okay, they're calling us all black. What does that mean? We don't even speak the same language. Some of us worship different types of deities and gods. How do we make sense of this? Is the existential crisis of quote-unquote blackness and the new world, where we have been identified as one thing when we have been a series of things, and we're still trying to figure out, are you my people? I don't know if you're my people. We're still doing that right now, 2023.
I'm sorry about that.
You know.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, no,
so even
doubt.
Musically,
mm-hmm.
it brings, you know, all these pieces. So we got the spirituals, we got, and I mean, whether those spirituals were based in an African cosmology or they were based in Christianity, we were telling stories in those things. And then with the instrumentation, some people got instruments through wartime. Honestly, you know, going into the military, picking up a horn for various reasons. And then when the war is done, or when you're back home, because horns, you know, instruments are expensive also. So how do we get access to certain instruments to even create this music, if we're going to create it in a specific kind of way based on instrumentation? These are all pieces of stories and histories that patchwork together. And you put people in a room and say, all right, make some music. We're going to figure out how to make some music. And, you know, we'll worry about what the content is, as far as whether this is going to be a Broadway piece, a piece composed by a white composer, if we're going to take a work song, if we're going to take, a pop song of the day and explore it in a jazz way, we're going to make our music, and, we're going to have our talking drums, and our drums are going to be talking to each other in this community, because that's what we do. So it was a natural process. And I think it sprang up individually in different places, but if you put your ear to the street, you could kind of make sense of how all these musical elements were happening simultaneously. And then as things started getting recorded and there was radio and broadcasting, then we have the ability to bounce ears off of each other. I'm hearing what you're doing. You hear what I'm doing. The record comes out. This record comes out. People want to put their stuff out there on a national or regional and international level even. Then we begin to hear each other. And, we're borrowing, we're stealing from each other. We're listening. We're interacting with each other. We're traveling. We're doing these tents and these caravans, popping up, bringing this music to different places, putting bands together, traveling throughout the country. That was a natural process of how this happened, because we didn't have YouTube. Because now you can type anything in and see anything right now.
Yep. Talking with Shayne Frederick. When we come forward on Time Flies on the Radio, just want to let you leave us with a thought to increase our music literacy, specifically when it comes to jazz. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's Dominique DePrima from KBLA Talk 1580. It's going down on Juneteenth weekend, Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. for the Ribbon Cutting and Street Festival for the New Orleans Corridor in Los Angeles. You know it. It's about time this important part of our story, our culture, was recognized by LA. Join Mayor Karen Bass, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, Councilwoman Heather Hutt, and Grammy Award-winning musicians Irvin Mayfield, Terrace Martin, and 1,500 or Nothing for an amazing celebration. Go to NOLA2LAtickets.org to claim your free ticket. That's NOLA2LAtickets.org. I'll be your MC, and I will see you there. Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. It's the New Orleans Corridor in LA for Juneteenth 2023.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh man, time does fly. Shayne Frederick, as always, it is wonderful to talk to you. I feel smarter and more musically inclined. What do you want to leave us with this morning?
Keep making music and listen to the contemporary music. I think Robert Glasper is a great example. There are a few people who are taking this thing we want to call jazz and continually contemporizing it, because it's not a stagnant museum artifact. Listen to Robert Glasper. Check out Adam Blackstone. And even with Glasper, you see he's collaborated with Erykah Badu and Lettucey, and he has all of these kind of contemporary R&B people doing what we still would consider jazz, is exploration, interpretation. He's taking music to a new level. You can't deny he's a powerful musician, intelligent, and this is where the music is going. So, we're still here.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. On Jefferson, our New Orleans connection, we're going to have Irvin Mayfield out there playing, and Terrace Martin, 1,500 or Nothing. Should be quite a party.
Woo! That's right.
I wish
I were there.
Yeah, I wish you were too. Maybe it'll be annual. We don't know. Shayne F. It's SHAYNE. Shayne F. is how you can follow Shayne Frederick on Twitter and elsewhere. And I guess we keep our eye out. I'm sure you'll post your performances, right, if you're coming around near us.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to that. Come on back to Cali.
I'm coming.
Coming back to Cali? Okay, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much once again for being our one-person education team for Black Music Month.
Thank you for having me.
Councilmember Heather Hutt is up next after news, traffic, and sports, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network in California. Back on our Approach Tuesday.
Here we go. Another white man who